What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having an absolutely incredible day. I know I am. If you are, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam. Barack Obama will break into your kitchen at 3 in the morning to eat your Oreos. Yeah, that's right. Ever since he left the White House, he's been a little bit depressed, and the way he gets over that is by eating scrumdiddlyumptious snacks. So yeah, you don't want that. Your Oreos are your right. As you guys can tell from the title, today we're going to be talking about the time that this kid's dad lit their house on fire, alright? I want to make a very strong disclaimer here. Don't light your house on fire. I never thought in my entire life I was gonna have to make a disclaimer saying that you shouldn't commit arson on your own house, but hey, it's YouTube 2019, so for all you kids watching, burning down your house is actually a terrible idea. I know everyone with more than 2 brain cells right now is like, Ryan, that's insanely obvious, but you know, apparently I have to make it very clear that you shouldn't do anything bad, so if you've thought about burning down your house, don't. This is a serious PSA. Stop it. Get some help. So yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of a long story. There's a bit of a backstory I gotta explain, but without further ado, let's get into it. So I had this one friend named, I'm gonna name him Marcus for this video, and he came from a really bougie family, alright? Like, he came from the type of family where if they were late for a flight, his dad would probably just buy the airport instead of booking another flight. Like, he lived that high life, you know? And me and him had been friends ever since we were really young, so I just kind of knew that that's how Marcus was. Like, it wasn't weird for me that he lived a super bougie life, and I had known them forever, so they were kind of just like an extension of my family by a little bit. Basically, his dad and my dad were like best friends, so we grew up together, and overall we were pretty chill, and like that was just how it is. I was just used to Marcus having that type of lifestyle. And when I was home from college after deciding to do YouTube full time, he was like, yo bro, let's hang out before I go back to school, we'll have a good time. And I was like, yeah man, bet. So he had a massive house, and he decided that he was going to throw a party there. So I obviously went to the party because me and him were boys, and we were just kind of hanging out, and one thing led to another, and I ended up not being able to drive home, okay? That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. That's all you guys need to know. It's not that important, the other issues, okay? I was a little bit hydrated, and Marcus was like, yo, bro, you can spend the night, just, like, crash on the couch downstairs. So I went to the basement, and we were kind of playing Halo on Xbox, being nostalgic until about 3 in the morning. So, obviously, at around 3 in the morning, I fell asleep. He went upstairs to go to bed, and everything was fine. I was sleeping. I was dreaming about million sub plaques and having the chance to be a full-time YouTuber. A big boy, some would say. So that's kind of what's going on. Just a standard run-of-the-mill situation. I'm asleep on this couch downstairs, and at about 4:30 in the morning, so only an hour and a half later, all I hear is this screaming, almost like a banshee stepped in a bear trap from upstairs. And so obviously I'm like, oh my god, like we're gonna die. We're gonna die, it's gonna die. And then I start hearing what they're screaming, which is fire, fire, fire. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this house on fire? Like, I'm in the basement. There's no way I'm getting out of this, dog. Like, am I supposed to run through the fire? Do I look like a superhero to you? Does it look like I'm Frozone? I don't understand how I'm gonna escape this situation. So I hear his mom screaming fire like a banshee, and I'm like, oh my god. So I run upstairs as fast as humanly possible. And I mean, I was so hydrated, I had just passed out in my clothes, okay? Like, I didn't need to grab anything. All my stuff was basically on me. My phone was in my pocket. Like, I was good to go. I was ready to run away from a fire, alright? I had my running shoes at the ready. I had my stance. I was ready to run 900 miles an hour away from a fire, because I'm not trying to be burned alive. You know, that just doesn't sound fun to me. So as I'm getting upstairs, obviously, every other man in the house is discombobulated and strange, because it's not every day that you get woken up at 4:30 in the morning from a woman screaming fire. At least I hope not. Like, if your mom wakes you up every morning by screaming fire, then you probably should get a new mom or a new wife or whatever the woman in your life is yelling, because 9 times out of 10, getting screamed at fire when there is no fire is not too pleasant. So I'm looking around the house and I'm like, wait a minute. Big brain IQ, I don't see a fire. Ha! Typical woman, not even knowing a fire. That was a joke. 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 So obviously I'm like, there's no fire. I'm super confused, right? Like, super confused. And that's when I see it. She is standing there in her moo-moo, frantically pointing across the street going, fire, fire, fire. And keep in mind, this house was gigantic, all right? Like, Marcus has got it easy, okay? He's got a beautiful house and a beautiful family. Like, it's pretty caking. And I look across the street, and this mansion across the street, which is pretty far away because they had like a lot of land, is engulfed in flames. Like, the type of fire where in a Disney movie, definitely somebody's losing their mom, all right? Like, Bambi's mom is about to become a barbecued husk of a deer. Like, that's the level of fire that we're talking about here. And obviously I'm like, oh my god, like, that's insane. And me, Marcus, and Marcus's dad are like, we should go see if they need any help. So I'm still clothes. They put on flip-flops. We like bolt across the street. We're like, are you guys okay? Is everything fine? Like, trying to make sure that everyone's okay. Now, I don't really think I would have run into a burning building, but like, you know, if somebody needed to get carried to a car, like, I can do that. I'm not running into a burning building for a plethora of reasons. One, I'm a lanky, Slenderman looking man, and my arm could easily be trapped on something that's on fire, and that would really hurt, you know. That would just be a big owie. I don't like owies. So, I'm standing here, and we get across the street, and the entire family that lived across the street is there with a little suitcase packed, like they were ready for it, you know? Like, they had their emergency fire suitcase at the ready, which is totally normal, you know? I don't know about you. My entire family has a fire suitcase, you know? In the event that our house ever catches flames, we keep a tiny suitcase with everything we own right there. Like, I don't know. The mom had, like, a photo album. It was just weird, okay? Like, I know what you're thinking, Ryan, you know, they were trying to save things from the fire, but let me get this straight. Your house bursts into flames at 4:30 in the morning, and you have the time to pack a suitcase, grab all your valuable photos, step outside, and none of them were freaking out. No one was crying. Nobody was like, oh my God, my house is on fire. Like, they were all pretty calm, which was super, super weird, right? Like, that's odd. I'm sorry. If my house, my multi-million-dollar mansion had just burst into flames in front of me and my entire life that I had built disappeared in an instant, I'd be a pretty upset person. Like, I would be a very upset person. But for some reason, this family was like, man, you know, these things happen. How's this light on fire? Wow, who would have thought? Oopsie, gee willikers, oh no. So Marcus's dad is like, all right, well, I'm going to call 911. And the dad's like, no, don't call 911. We already called the fire department. We only need the fire department. The fire department is all that we need. Which, you know, I'm not a genius, okay? I am not necessarily 500 IQ big brain constantly, but I'm starting to be like, wow, it sure is weird that you don't want people to call 911. You don't want the cops there. You only want the fire department. You have a suitcase packed, and none of you are surprised at the fact that your house just burned to the ground. Call me crazy here, but something doesn't add up, okay? This is a 2 + 2 = 5 situation, and clearly we are missing one. And I think the one is, this definitely was not an accident, all right? Like, I've seen enough crime TV shows to understand what arson looks like, and this is probably it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't say anything, though. It's not my place. I'm not trying to get involved in a police investigation. No, thank you. So, the fire department comes, they put out the fire. The house is basically destroyed. About half the house just doesn't exist anymore. The other half is heavily damaged, and the police are, well, not the police weren't there yet. The fire department's kind of like, well, how long was this fire going on? And the guy's like, I don't know, 30 minutes, and they're like, you're telling me that in 30 minutes this entire house burned down? Like, I don't, something's not adding up. Unless there was some type of accelerant like gasoline or something, it takes more than 30 minutes for a house of this size to burn down. And he's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. And they're like, all right, well, we're gonna have to call the police to investigate. And he's like, no, you don't. You don't have to do that. Like, you don't have to do that. You really don't. You don't have to do that. Which, let me give you a pro tip. If you're trying to scam insurance for your house burning down, you don't tell the people investigating not to call the cops. Like, that's not a red flag at all. Imagine any other criminal doing the exact same thing, and think about how stupid that sounds. I understand that all the DNA leads back to the girl being last seen with me, but you don't need to call the cops. I'm not a suspect. Don't call them. Don't investigate it. I promise I didn't do it. Trust me, I pinky promise, double pinky promise. I can guarantee you that you're guilty. Like, you don't think you're not very slick. So obviously the police comes, and at that point it's what, 7 in the morning? Like, it took a little bit for the police to finally get rang and show up on the scene. And sure enough, you know, the arson crimes unit's there investigating, and I decide that I'm gonna go home because as great as it is to be living in an episode of CSI, I really prefer when it's condensed into 30 minutes. I don't like actually watching the entire, you know, 2-3 week period where they're investigating a crime. Like, that's not fun. I would rather just watch the 30-minute highlight reel, all right? Like, if you think about it, crime shows are really just a highlight reel of police officers, okay? Like, the months and months of work that they spend doing, you know, boring stuff like, hey kid, don't speed. And then out of nowhere, they're like, I stopped a serial killer. Put it on television. Like, that's really weird when you think about it. That police have highlight reels, and it's basically them stopping the worst criminals to ever exist. So whatever, that's what's kind of going on. I go home, but I'm kind of like, yo, Marcus, you can keep me updated. And come to find out, the neighbor had purposely lit his multi-million-dollar house on fire in hopes to get insurance money because their business wasn't doing well. Which, you know, call me big brain. Why didn't you just sell the house, you absolute monkey butt? oh, you know, my business isn't doing well, therefore I should burn down my house instead of selling it to get the money. Like, dude, you don't need a house that big if you're broke. It's okay. You can go live in a smaller house and still be fine. But, you know, he thought for some reason he was going to get away with it, even though they did, like, all the things you shouldn't do if you're going to commit arson, like, not freak out that your house just burnt down and have bags packed just to avoid not having clothes when your house burns down. Like, as far as getting away with crimes go, you were really, really bad at it. Like, come on, that's like, officer, listen, you know, my house burned down. Don't ask me why. I was packed and prepared for my house to burn down because I can't tell you, you know, I just, I thought it would be funny to have a backpack just in case, and now the coincidence is I accidentally purposely lit my house on fire, you know? Like, that's, hey, sometimes these things happen, officer. So, basically, Marcus was kind of telling me that, he got arrested, and he was getting arrested and getting, booked on charges of arson and attempted insurance fraud, which I don't really know if that's, like, the listed crime. That's just what he told me. I don't really think the courtroom is going to be like, you are accused of insurance fraud, but I don't know. I'm not exactly a legal expert by any means. But it ended up being a pretty high-profile case, and yeah, the guy was found guilty of burning down his house. So, moral of the story, kids, don't burn down your own house, because 9 times out of 10, you will get caught. And now, you're just an idiot with no house. Like, really think about it. Not only did you get caught trying to pull off a crime that you were really bad at and just did a terrible job trying to get away with, but now your family doesn't have a house and you're in jail. That's just an extra L. Your business was failing, so you burnt down your house and then you ended up in prison. That's how your life goes from 100 to 0 as fast as humanly possible. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. Regardless, though, I will never forget watching a giant mansion burn down while the family sat next to me calmly singing Michael Jackson as their multi-million-dollar mansion burned to the ground. I give that experience a solid 2 out of 10. I don't know. It kind of made me sad, but also kind of funny at the same time. But that's going to do it for the video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to press the like button. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of the video, if you like stories like this. Any stories that you want to hear or see next, feel free to DM me ideas on Instagram of anything you would think you'd want to talk about. And yeah, today's notification shout-out goes to Jev the Remix. Big shout-out to you for having on notifications. If you want a notification shout-out, all you got to do is send a screenshot to my Instagram DMs at Scrubby, and I shout somebody out every day. But on that note, guys, I'm going to go figure out how to commit insurance fraud. You guys have an absolutely incredible day. Don't get anyone pregnant, and if you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. I'm out. Peace.